Hey, it's Dan again, and welcome back to Unified Gaming. Now, if you enjoyed the video, then like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification to stay up to date. Hey guys, and welcome to my Magical Warden, the Infector. This is a .pvp build for the Scalebreaker patch. It is currently in PTS, and this is the second week of the PTS. It is 5.1.1, so obviously please note that this will change somewhat. It might be fine, it might not be fine for when the patch actually drops, okay? You are on the right video, by the way. Don't be sort of confused as to why is there a stamdom, why is there a magical necromancer and all that sort of stuff, okay? What I'm obviously showing is that actually I have been playing ESO still. I still test stuff heavily, everything on the website and on YouTube. Obviously I test myself, so don't feel sort of afraid to ask or say it's not working for you. Just ask me, I'll help you out, okay? Happy to do so. So kind of to want to show that actually I am testing stuff out. If you do see something you go, well actually I like the look of that, that looks really fun, or Dan, could you have a go and make me this or try that, I'm happy to give it a go. Just put in the comments and I'll obviously let you know what I'm doing, okay? Now for the build video, I've changed the structure of them, so to try and make it easier for you guys to follow and to try and make it just more concise, I've actually created an animation myself, so obviously all the animations I make myself, but basically it's kind of the thought process that I go through when I make any build. I basically start from the centre, what do I want the build to do, so desired gameplay. I then pick a race in the class that allows me to achieve that. I then start with the skills once I've got the race and the class sorted. I then pick the armour. The armour generally takes care of itself if you've got the skills and the race right in the class, in all honesty. And then it gives you the Munderstone to be free, as well as your food, which allows you to adapt and refine the build, plug in the gaps you might have. And then once you've done that, you then go and actually focus on your skill level and the experience of the build, actually play it, get used to it, tweak it, so on, and just repeat going round and round and round until you optimise it. For me, that's how I do it, and as a result, I get builds that I can change between Cyrodiil and BGs happily. So that's kind of the process. I obviously will use this structure with this video, so obviously let me enjoy it. And if you do enjoy this video, then like, subscribe, turn on bell notifications to stay up to date so you don't miss any videos. Now with that said, we're going to jump straight into the build video, so obviously I'll catch you there.
Very nice, man.
So when I obviously think of any build, I go from this kind of same thought process. What do I want it to do before I actually make any class, gear, so on. So I wanted this to be a Magicka dot build that I could play at range, basically, where I could use it in groups predominantly. So that way I can kind of go and sort of bit battlegrounds, dot a couple people up at range, and just watch them melt. My teammates go and blow them up. You know, happy days. If you've got two of these, I can imagine it'd be really, really effective, unless the team has like a Templar to purge or so on. But it just keeps pressure on at people at range, which is kind of what I wanted it to do. So obviously, I kind of had that sort of idea in my mind, so I said, what classes are good for this? Magicka Templar, Magicka Warden. I like Magicka Warden, so I thought I'd see kind of what I could do with that first, and I've also toyed around with a Templar as well. With the Magicka Warden, I chose that because they have access to really strong dots, and obviously they also have access to really good defensive buffs, especially at range, having access to Shimmer and Shield, which makes you immune to range damage whilst given ult gen. So that kind of just sold it for this sort of group play. Templar's more for sort of solo bursty, in all honesty. So for me, I went with obviously a Warden, and then for the race, I chose a race that will kind of complement that. I was a Breton originally, because the Breton had really good cost reduction, but due to the changes as of late, the kind of way in which cost reduction works now, the Breton passive isn't as good as it used to be, so I found that the High Elf was just slightly better because of the stam management, and obviously with you being in a group and you have to move a lot, stam can be issues, so this obviously passive spell recharge is going to help solve that overall. That said, there's not really much difference between a Breton and a High Elf, so kind of go with either one, basically. Now for the second section is the skills, so obviously before I think of even any gear, I think of what skills I want to use that will allow me to play how I want. So I thought of just checking as many dots as I could because of the changes to Scalebreaker. I'm really embracing the patch. I went with Infector Infection, good single target ability, really like it. Second cast does more damage. I then went with Structured Entropy, Flame Breach, Consuming Trap, Bird of Prey, and Soul Assault. 4 dots basically plus Soul Assault, and Bird of Prey is just on the bar for extra damage passively. You don't actually need to use it, so that's great, and it gives you movement if you want. So that's kind of a good, well-rounded set. This does lack a stun though, so that's why I said it is better in group play. So if you were going to change it, obviously just put a stun on there if you want, like change reach to clench or use the vampire stun. Those are your real options. You could try the stun from the Warden that heals you as well, but hit and miss in all honesty. As for the bat bot, I chose Ice Fortress, good defensive skill, minor protection, damper magic, bigger shield. Harness magic is not as good as it used to be, so I didn't really like that. Living Trellis, good heal over time, plus burster when you cast it. Blue Betty for major sorcery, and the dot extra magical sustaining also gives you the ability to remove 1 dot, so that's really nice. Obviously I know I get major sorcery from Structured Entropy, but this is kind of just another way to get free resources basically. And I use Shimmer and Shield for more ult gen, plus the ability to absorb projectiles at range, meaning that we can sit at range and drop people up and they can't hit us back. Really, really horrible, so quite fun to play with. And I use Hidden Thicket as my ultimate, just as a good AoE ult in group play, so that way you can heal the group if I want. Obviously this is my first iteration at kind of these kind of skills with this armor setup. I will probably leave this as is for now, but I will change it. Now for the third section, I've gone with 2 sets, obviously 2 5p sets and a monster set, so Bloodspawn's obviously really obvious, and I'm using Alphique and Necropotence. Now I did try Oblivion's Foe, and I tried also using Protective, so I went Protective, Protective and a Protective here, and then I did run Valkyr's Scoria on the actual body as well. And that was really good, but because of the changes to Protective, there just isn't enough resistance anymore, so you've lost about 1500 roughly resist to maybe 2k nearly, so it's quite a big difference. And that kind of just made it, actually I had to change it and run a defensive set, so I put on Bloodspawn to obviously solve that issue. I also found that due to the change to Oblivion's Foe, because now it gives you 1000 weapon and spell damage rather than 100% extra damage on Soul Trap, the Soul Trap damage wasn't really increasing that much. It added like an extra 6 to 7,000 on the tooltip, at which point I was like, if I can get 6 or 7,000 extra on the other tooltips shared between them, I'm in the same place as I was last patch. So then I thought, what sets would go really well with this? So I put on Alphique, because obviously this really complements the Necropotence set. So I've gone with really high max magic sets. Because my magic is really high, I've gone with 2 regen and 1 spell damage, and I've also got the Mage Mundus, which we'll go through in a moment. As for enchantments, I went with just increased weapon damage and spell damage on the main bars, that way I can just light attack and my dots do even more damage. And you obviously seen the tooltips, it is absolutely bonkers. I can get obviously 245k with Soul Assault, and if the Fletcher proc is up, it's like 260 something, so it's just ridiculous, more damage than it was last patch basically. So really, really strong damage. And I've gone with Restoration Staff, back bar, and then obviously you want to go defending, and then run whatever you want, poison, glyph, I don't mind, up to you. I went with poison just because that way you can just light attack and obviously dots on somebody, just, why not? So that's that really. So yeah, that's what I'm running, just for those people who weren't sure. Alphique, Bloodspawn, Necropotence. And you want all arcane on the jewellery, just so that's really clear, and all impendant on the body. Okay? Once I've decided on the armor, the skills, and the race, I then go with what kind of food and consumables do I want, okay? And this is kind of where I'm allowed to get some flexibility. By doing it this way, you can then change your food to play in Battlegrounds, or your Mundus to play in Battlegrounds, which is really, really nice. So you don't have to have 2 or 3 sets. So I use the Tri-Stat food for just a CP really, because obviously it gives you more stam, and I'd probably use Tri-Stat food as well in BGs. If I change this for BGs, because obviously knowing how BGs work, I'll just swap this spell damage out and would run an extra regen, have a 3 regen glyphs. To help with the regen, I also put on the Atronach, because I thought the Atronach really pairs with this. So again, by doing the armor first, you can then put on the food and your kind of Mundustone to obviously just help make up what you're lacking basically. So it's a really good way of sort of building your class, and it just lets you change 1 or 2 glyphs and if needed. So yeah, it's a really good way of doing it. So yeah, that's kind of the consumables. I am a vampire on this. As for CP, I'm just going to just show them on the screen and just fast forward. So Tower, Thief, this is the Lover, and then this is the Shadow, the Thief still, and in the Mage, the Apprentice, the Atronach, the Ritual, the Steed, the Lady, the Lord. We're back to the beginning. One thing to try and get is wind running. That's really useful on a magical warding, because obviously you move quite a lot. You have to sprint quite a lot on this. Other than that, the rest of the passives aren't particularly important. You'll get them quite easily anyway. Now for the last section, this is all about kind of experience and skill level, and it's kind of, obviously there's many parts to this in all honesty, but it's kind of a very similar sort of theme. Okay, basically I put this in this kind of build video and this kind of animation because when I make any build, you need to test, test, and test, and test again. And I know it's tedious, but it is really, really important. It really improves your success on the build. The more you play it, the better you get. That's the bottom line. Okay. Now I know it's frustrating, I know it's irritating, but it's true, honestly. So I would highly recommend just test a build, tweak it yourself, find what you're happy with. Do not copy and paste from what you see, because it might not work for you. The second thing is, obviously, when you see somebody on the build, they've obviously played the build extensively for quite a while, so they've got a lot of experience, as well as experience with the game generally, so they know where the build really shines, what's the strengths of their build, what's the weaknesses. You find people usually move away from those weaknesses by just not getting in that situation in the first place. Movement, working with teammates to avoid it. So that way, if you're weak, say with you're lacking a stun on this build, for example, I'll probably work with a Dragon Knight who has fossilized and stuns galore, because obviously I can't control people, so I need somebody to do that for me. So you kind of just find ways to kind of offset that, so that way you don't get yourself in sticky situations. And then you kind of then also play to your strengths. The strength of this is I dot people at range, they will melt really fast. They get close to me, I'm probably going to die if I'm not too careful. So kind of just make sure that when you play these kind of builds, you actually kind of practice on it, and also just understand how is it meant to be played. Don't try and use an AoE build against one person. You're not going to do well. It's an AoE build. They're going to move out of the way. They're not stupid. Okay. With that said, that's kind of sort of what I want to say for that sort of section there, really. Last thing, obviously, actually is also just understanding the classes generally. That actually, if you know this is a magic base, Stan might be weak against it or strong against it. Dragon Knight's probably going to be strong against this because you're a vampire. So just know kind of which classes to avoid, basically, because there are obviously counters to each build, and obviously a Dragon Knight will be a good counter to this, sadly. Now I'm going to wrap the build video up there. Obviously I know this is slightly different kind of with the animation and kind of just how it is and the structure, but I'm going to sort of try this sort of structure in the future if people like this kind of video, and so if obviously it gets a good response, then I'll use this structure going forward. And if you are sort of wanting to see some other builds that I want to feature, so like the Magical Templar that you saw earlier, the Magden, the Magical Necromancer, and a few others that I've got obviously in the work, then obviously let me know in the comments saying, oh Dan, would you show where you are with the Magical Necromancer, for example, where you are with the Magical Templar? And I'm happy to obviously create a little clip, kind of 2-3 minute things to kind of get an idea of kind of what it's doing, where it's at, and then obviously I can keep working on it. So kind of with that said, I'm going to shoot off now, and obviously if you do enjoy this video, obviously like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps me out, helps out the channel, and it also shows me that this is kind of a video and this sort of style is what you want to see. So with that said, I'll catch you in the next one. Take care guys, and thanks for watching. Bye.